Hey everyone, my name's Abby and this is Get Decked. We just spent a week aboard the Norwegian Prima and left extremely disappointed. With the Prima being NCL's newest and most luxurious ship, my hopes were pretty high for this voyage. Though it does have luxurious touches, it did not live up to the hype in my opinion. It was so bad we canceled our trip to Iceland for later this year. Now let's get into the 9 things that I just can't get over with the Norwegian Prima. Number 9, the ship is way too small for everything that they crammed into it. I don't know about you, but I sure do not want to be on top of strangers in confined spaces. It's just not my cup of tea. In my opinion, deck space and pools are super important. Unfortunately, these were huge red flags aboard the Norwegian Prima. There are only 3 pools for those of us peasants who did not upgrade to the Haven. There are 2 infinity pools and there's also 1 main deck pool. The main deck pool is barely bigger than a lap pool, and the 2 infinity pools on either side of deck 8 are super small as well. Those infinity pools also were home to many, many small children. And I'm a mom. I understand. I have kids. But when I go on vacation, I don't want to be splashed with all of the small children in the infinity pools. When I go to the Caribbean on vacation, I want to lay in my lounge chair with a drink in my hand, basking in the sun, and just enjoy my time. Unfortunately, aboard the Norwegian Prima, with the limited deck space and the obscene amount of loungers that they cram into it, there's still not enough loungers for the amount of passengers. We also had the issue of other passengers getting up before the sun to lay out their towels in their loungers so that they could reserve a spot so that they could go eat breakfast or they could go to get their massage at the spa or that they could do whatever they wanted to do. And no matter how long they took, when they came back, their chair would still be reserved. But then there's people like me who like to sleep in on vacation. And then I'm wandering from deck to deck trying to find a lounge chair, and all of them are reserved with towels and no bodies in them, which is super frustrating because I am not the person that I'm going to go move somebody else's towel so that I can have a seat. Now for number 8 on the things that I hated about the Norwegian Prima. The layout. This ship layout was absolutely horrendous. I don't know who planned it, who engineered it. Not a fan. I felt like I was lost the entire time I was on the ship. I could not get my bearings whatsoever. Now, if you've sailed Norwegian before, you know that one of their staples, it seems, is the fish in the carpet. And the fish always swim to the front of the ship, so you can at least kind of get your bearings. Unfortunately, the Norwegian Prima does not have the fish. So I'm standing there trying to figure out where I am, and I can't figure it out. I typically don't struggle with navigation whatsoever. I can usually get my bearings pretty quickly, but unfortunately, due to the long, dark kind of corridors that just kind of branch off in every which way that have different restaurants and different entertainment in them, all on different decks, I just really struggled. I had to use the little tablets on the walls quite frequently because I didn't know where I was, and I very heavily relied on my husband because I just couldn't figure it out. Now on to number 7. I may spark some controversy here. The demographic of the passengers aboard the Norwegian Prima on our Caribbean cruise. The people were interesting and they were very different than the people on our cruise to Alaska. The people we encountered on our trip were super loud, hooting and hollering into all hours of the night, like 3 a.m. all hours of the night. I'm not sure about you, but we really like to sleep with the door open. We like to listen to the water and we like the breeze coming in. And unfortunately, we were not able to do that just because having deck 8, which is the pool deck below us, just made it really, really difficult because everybody was partying and just being so loud. The rudeness among the people on this ship was just astounding. They were fighting and just being super rude in the food lines at the buffet. They were very rude to their wait staff. They are arguing and fighting over deck chairs and loungers. I could not get over the amount of rudeness coming out of these people. And this may get some people's goats, and I'm sorry, not sorry. The passengers on this cruise were very, very hungry. Plates on plates on plates in the buffet, and they also they would cut in line to get the very last hash brown at breakfast, or they would cut in line to get the last chicken breast or the last dish of spaghetti, instead of just waiting their turn. And one morning, actually, I was waiting in line to get my coffee because Lord knows I cannot operate in the morning without coffee. And there was a line of us just waiting, and there's 2 coffee stations in the Surfside buffet. And we were all waiting behind this gentleman, and he had 2 big thermoses, and he proceeded to empty the entire thing of coffee and then just kind of look at us and be like, "Oh, sorry, it's all gone." Number 6, the bars, or there are very few bars aboard the Norwegian Prima that are accessible in common areas. There's only one on the pool deck, so there is one bar for decks 16, 17, and 18. That's 3 decks that rely on one bar. So this causes for heavy traffic jams at this bar and for rude bartenders because they're being overwhelmed with the amount of guests trying to order drinks. And they have bartender runners, but those are taking forever as well because they still have to deal with the same lines and the same bartenders at the physical bar. Now on to number 5 is our Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi sucks. I'm going to be upfront and honest with you. It sucks. The free at sea that you get with your booking includes 150 minutes of just their standard Wi-Fi. That is no streaming. That's no social media. That's literally just web surfing. You can't FaceTime. You can't Skype. You can't do any of that. It's just super basic internet. To do the unlimited package, you do have to upgrade. It's more expensive to upgrade on the ship versus booking it beforehand. And there are multiple different packages that you can purchase to upgrade your Wi-Fi. And sometimes it's better, sometimes it's not, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Your upgraded premium Wi-Fi package is going to cost $34.99 a day per person if you book it before you get on the ship, and it is $39.99 per person per day if you book it while you are on the ship. This unlimited premium Wi-Fi package does include TikTok streaming, which is going to be your Netflix, your Hulu, any kind of streaming apps, your FaceTime, your Skype, your video calling. I have to call my kids every day, so we have to have that package at least on one of our devices so that we can call home to talk to our kids. Norwegian also does offer multiple other packages like social media only. You can buy a package for 250 minutes versus the 150 minutes that you get with your free at sea. And you can also do it by the minute. You can pay per minute, but the price will absolutely blow your mind. It is 99 cents a minute. I don't know about you, but I'm not paying that. So I will gladly pay $34.99 per person per day so that I can have unlimited access to internet, so that I can work, I can call my kids, and I can do whatever else I need to do while on board the ship. When you go on vacation, do you want to have to schedule every single minute of your day so that you can get everything in? I do not. So that leads me into number 4 of things that I hated about the Norwegian Prima is that you have to make reservations for everything. Unless you're a specific tier of the Norwegian Latitudes Rewards program, you are not able to book any reservations until you're on board the ship. There are 2 ways to book your reservations. One is the NCL app, and the other is on the TV in your stateroom. Unfortunately, when you board the ship, your stateroom typically isn't ready for 2 to 3 hours after boarding. And the hiccup that I've run into with the Norwegian app is that it only works if you're connected to data or Wi-Fi. But once you board the ship, your data no longer works and your Wi-Fi is going to be in and out. So the app is kind of unreliable. When we boarded the ship, we had no idea that we needed to book our reservations immediately as soon as we got into our room. So we went and we explored a little bit. We checked out the buffet. We did some other things. And then we got back to our stateroom and tried to make our reservations, and everything was totally booked. So we had to constantly be checking the app and the TV when we were in our stateroom to see if there were ever any cancellations and snag them before somebody else did. We had upgraded our meal package to a 4-meal specialty dining package, and unfortunately, we would not have been able to use any of them had we not been watching the app and the TV like a hawk for canceled reservations. So Hasuki is the hibachi restaurant aboard the Norwegian Prima. It's teppanyaki on most of the other ships. And it is my favorite restaurant on Norwegian cruise ships. And my husband could not get us a reservation through the TV or the app, so he had to go down to the restaurant. And thankfully, he was able to bat his eyelashes at the lady at the front desk for the restaurant, and she was able to get us in for dinner one of the nights aboard the ship. However, it was at 9:30 at night, right before they closed, so that was a little frustrating, but at least I got my hibachi. Another super frustrating part of the Norwegian Prima and our voyage was the obstructed views. We had quite a few places on the ship where you had obstructed views and you couldn't see the scenery, the ocean, whatever you were looking at, you couldn't see it. One of those places was our stateroom. We were deck 11 midship, and unfortunately, the slides obstructed our view of the front of the ship. So we could only see down the back side of the ship. If we tried to look towards the front, the slides were there. So for number 2, I'm going to call it the attractions. The Norwegian Prima does have a 3-story go-kart track. They are the first cruise line. This is the first ship to do a 3-story go-kart track on board. The theory, super cool. Unfortunately, did not pan out, I think, as well as all of us kind of thought that it would. They go really slow, and you have to make a reservation. It's $15 for a couple laps, and it just kind of sucked, to be quite honest. Next up are the 3 slides aboard the Norwegian Prima. There is the drop, and there's also the rush. The rush is 2 slides that corkscrew around each other, and then the drop is on the other side of the ship, and it just kind of has a steeper grade coming down. Unfortunately, all 3 of them were pretty slow. So you had to try and find a time that they were open. They were open super weird times of the day. And then when you did get there and you got through it, you just kind of left disappointed because they were pretty slow, and it just wasn't as fun as we thought it was going to be. Oof. Next for the comedy shows. The comedy club is super, super small, holds 70 people. Now, let me remind you that there are 3,200 passengers aboard this vessel, and our comedy club holds 70 at a time. Anyway, I went to a comedy show. It does not take much to make me laugh at all. I giggle at just about everything. Unfortunately, in this hour-long show, I do not think I laughed one time. The set was just so raunchy. And let me tell you, I can respect a good risque joke. I absolutely can. But unfortunately, this was just really raunchy, and I could not get into it, and I just did not think that it was funny. I do not get offended easily. Unfortunately, I just really did not like this comedy show. So the next program, event, attraction that was supposed to be super fun and exciting was The Price is Right Live. Unfortunately, I can't tell you if it was super fun, exciting, and fantastic like everybody said it was, because there wasn't any room for me. The people who were able to get into this program waited outside of the theater for over 2 hours so that they could get in and get a seat. I'm sorry, I'm not going to wait in line for 2 hours to get into an attraction on my vacation. I prefer not to waste those 2 hours, and unfortunately, that landed in me not getting into the show. You'll have to let me know on whether or not you'd wait in line for 2 hours waiting to get into this show. Now, let's get into number 1. My number 1 gripe, and one of the biggest reasons that I hated the Norwegian Prima: the food. There's complimentary food and there's specialty food, and I hated it all. There was one restaurant aboard the entire ship that I felt that was worth the money and that I really, truly enjoyed the dishes. There are so many different options for food with complimentary and with the specialty dining. I was really hopeful that we would get some food with some good flavor and some good options, and unfortunately there just wasn't any. The Surfside Cafe, which is your buffet, just the food just all kind of tasted the same. It wasn't very good. And also the same for the local and the indulge food hall. There were lots of different choices, but none of it really had any flavor, and it just wasn't very good. Now let's talk about the indulge food hall for a second. It, in theory, is a great idea. You sit down, they give you an ordering pad, and you can order from multiple different restaurants at the same time, and they bring it to you at the same table. And it's a good idea in theory. Unfortunately, there was not enough wait staff, and they give you such small portions that you have to order 3 of anything to get a normal sized portion of it. My husband loves naan bread, and they gave you half a slice at a time. So he had to order 4 orders of naan bread, And the wait staff was getting frustrated because we were ordering multiples of everything. And unfortunately, it just wasn't a good experience overall. I was really hoping that the specialty dining would just be a better experience than the complimentary dining, and it unfortunately was not. There are so many different restaurants to choose from when it comes to specialty dining. There's Los Lobos, which is your Mexican, Onda by Scarpetta, which is your Italian. You've got Cagney's Steakhouse with prime cuts of steak, let me tell you. And then there is also Hasuki, which is your hibachi, Le Bistro, which is French, and then Nama Sushi, which is super fresh sushi only. Unfortunately, Los Lobos kind of dropped the ball. The tacos and the guacamole, super bland. My Mexican street corn, which why do we have that at a Mexican restaurant? I'm unsure. It was super, super soggy. And then at Food Republic, the sushi was actually pretty good, but everything else that we got was not. No flavor, weird textures, just a no-go. Little tidbit, if you plan on tipping your waitstaff on the ship, just be mindful that they have to pool all of their tips together and split them at the end of the night. It does not go just to your server. So all of this to say, we just really disliked the Norwegian Prima. There was more that we disliked than we liked, and unfortunately, due to that, we did end up canceling our trip to Iceland later this year that we had planned because it is on board the Norwegian Prima. There is no way that I can spend 11 days on this ship and enjoy my trip. Unfortunately, a lot of passengers on board the Norwegian Prima when we were on our trip all agreed with us that the Norwegian Prima kind of just fell flat. It fell flat on its face, let's be honest. It is not meeting the hype that has come from Norwegian. So take from this what you will. These are all my personal opinions, and maybe if we give it a year or so, they'll work out all of their kinks and it'll be a better experience for everybody on board the Norwegian Prima. If you're interested in more cruise tips, tricks, opinions, and experiences, give us a like and a subscribe for all of our latest updates. Until next time, get decked.